How you doing, social workers? So this is a question that came across my mind as I was helping someone with their genogram. Do you know what a genogram is? If not, check it out. Otherwise, we're always encouraged to use them in social work. They are visual maps of the family through their genealogies. So it will always start with the child at the bottom, and then all the children, and then we work our way up through their parents, identifying who their parents are. Sometimes they're from different families, and so we can identify where relationships have broken, or if the relationships are damaged or fractured or healthy. How many children, who's got what child, and how many children there are in the family, grandparents. But what you can use them for is to identify patterns. And so it's often encouraged to, use a genogram, especially in your studies, to use a genogram as a piece of work to help parents identify, or even children, identify the patterns that have gone through the genealogies. Generations is a better word. So, for example, you might find that there's patterns of multiple partners or fractured relationships, so that you can try to map an outcome that you want a child to avoid, or to see where a parent is and that they're actually probably repeating the mistakes of the past. So again, like I said, that will be a part of the work, and I work in the assessment team, but whether it's in the long-term team or the short-term team, which is what I'm in, you can do that piece of work. Something came to mind though, which was that genograms may not be appropriate for everybody, and I've often questioned whether I should use them with certain families, because I'm trying to get a point across that, we're in a cycle of behavior. And I want you to, instead of listening to me, let's go through it so you can see it yourself. So it can be effective, but let's go through it and see it yourself as to what you are doing and the things that you are repeating on reflection and looking at your whole, up to your grandparents, great grandparents' history. The problem I've had with it is that I think it can be re-traumatizing, and you have to be reasonably intuitive, or maybe if you feel that this isn't really the way forward, then I would encourage you not to use it, because you know your family as a social worker, so you know what might be appropriate and what might not be. So my encouragement is to think twice about using tools that will possibly or potentially negatively impact the people that you're working for, or the people that you're supporting. So, for example, I think, for example, that there are some families where some of the patterns that you're going to raise up might bring up a lot of history that they're trying to remove themselves from. So you can see now how it can be a problem. Do you know what I mean? And so what you don't want to do is tick a box and say, I've done a piece of work with the family, but you've got to also think, is what I'm about to embark on with this family going to be beneficial? Maybe we just need to be task focused or strengths focused, because it's too much to go through. But sometimes, and if you're intuitive enough to determine this, or get permission from the family to determine whether looking at their past might be the way forward, because for me, a lot of the time it's necessary, but it might not be the right time. So even though they're working with me, I might not be the person to take them through that, or it might not be the right time now to go for a genealogy to explore the patterns. They may look at their grandfather. I know children have been abused by their grandparents, so we don't necessarily want to go down that road, and that's one of the things to consider. But yeah, a genealogy is a really good way of us understanding, and also for the family to understand where they're coming from and where they're going. And if we just want to run in and tick a box, it is no good. In fact, it's really important to sit down and think about the work that you want to do with someone, because what you're trying to do is move them forward in any case. Even sometimes going backwards is a form of going forwards, but ultimately you're trying to get them to go forward. And you've got to work out whether any piece of work that you do with a family is appropriate. Hopefully this helped. Take care of yourselves.